Things Europeans do that shock tourists. When we departed Canada to travel full-time 4 years ago, we never anticipated that much of our journey would be spent in Europe. We've truly fallen for this continent, and there are several reasons for that, which I'll discuss at a later time. Upon arriving in Europe, I noticed numerous small differences compared to North America, while some variations are quite subtle. I chose to create a video highlighting some of the aspects that have caught our attention during our journey. I won't focus on the obvious facts, such as Europe's smaller size as a continent, the small size of its countries, or the multitude of languages spoken. Most people are already aware of these points. Instead, I'll concentrate on specific aspects that might seem unusual or simply different to foreigners, particularly North Americans, when they visit Europe. I'm sharing this video because it seems that many people don't realize it showcases our experiences as we traveled through various parts of Europe. As I mentioned, Europe has 51 or 44, depending on how you count, countries and a population of 700 million, and we haven't been to all of them. The observations in this video are based only on the countries we've visited. If you're in Sweden, your experiences likely differ from those in Spain, Croatia, or Ukraine. Please feel free to share your thoughts, as this video highlights things that may seem unusual to non-Europeans coming from outside the continent. Also, don't take it too seriously. This video was intended to be lighthearted. Apartments. If you're similar to us, you tend to rent a place to stay during your travels, often using Airbnb. Here are some potential problems you might encounter. Finding an apartment can be tricky. In many European apartment buildings, floors and apartment numbers aren't clearly labeled. Typically, the first floor is the one above the ground floor. For instance, this apartment in Zadar, which is one of the best we've stayed in during our travels, is on the 4th floor. We counted 100 steps to reach it, so keep that in mind if you have a lot of luggage or a disability. Regarding the lack of directions, here's an example. In Sevilla, when we arrived at the building, we were buzzed in and instructed to go to the 3rd floor, turn left, and it's the second to last apartment on the right. If you've just arrived from North America, this might be confusing. You enter a building, ascend the stairs without any signs indicating which floor you're on, and find no apartment numbers or names, just blank doors on each floor. Hot water tanks in Europe have two notable characteristics. One, they are generally smaller than those in North America, which limits shower times to about 8 minutes, so you may need to turn off the water while applying shampoo and conditioner. 2. Unlike in North America, where large hot water tanks are often hidden away, in Europe these tanks are usually located in the bathroom or kitchen and come with their own on-off switch on the wall. If you prefer warm water, ensure that the tank is switched on, as owners often turn it off when the apartment is not in use to save electricity. Toilets can be quite varied in every apartment we've stayed in, and generally, the older models are preferable. When we see eco-friendly, water-saving toilets, we interpret it as a sign that we'll need to flush multiple times to get everything down. It's quite unpleasant, and I can't imagine anyone actually enjoys staring directly at a steaming pile of waste. Public honor system in public transportation. Throughout much of Europe, public transport is exceptional, featuring extensive networks of trams, subways, and buses. In many areas, there operates an honor system where you can simply board without any gates, turnstiles, or lengthy lines. This doesn't mean you shouldn't purchase a ticket. You are required to do so, and failure to have one will result in a hefty fine. However, in addition to being more civilized, this system greatly enhances efficiency by making the process much smoother. Paying to use restrooms. One of my biggest annoyances is when tourists gripe about the cost of using public toilets. They say things like, "It's a basic human right," or "What if I don't have any coins? Will you really deny me access to the restroom?" Seriously? It's difficult to find a decent and large cup of coffee, which frustrates many North Americans, including us. In North America, we are accustomed to large servings of coffee. Even a cappuccino can be quite sizable. In Europe, however, coffee cups, including takeaway options, are significantly smaller. Europeans often claim that North Americans lack coffee knowledge, but we enjoyed excellent coffee in Montreal that was not only larger, but also just slightly more expensive than the tiny cups served in Europe. Additionally, we've encountered plenty of subpar coffee in Europe, making the debate over quality versus quantity seem invalid to me. While we've adapted to smaller coffee sizes and learned to savor a single small cup for an hour in our favorite cafe, when we find ourselves in a major city with a Starbucks, we tend to go a bit overboard. Poor service. In Europe, the quality of service can often hinge on the mood of your waiter. You won't experience the same level of service as in America, and Canada falls short as well. However, I find it difficult to accept how service workers are compensated in the US. While a stable, fixed wage might not guarantee exceptional service, I believe I would prefer it to a server who is overly flattering just to earn tips to support themselves and their family. Shopping carts at grocery stores in Europe are linked together, and you can only unlock one by inserting a coin as a deposit. This system allows you to detach a cart from the chain when you put a coin into its handle. What purpose does this serve, aside from causing frustration when you can't understand how it works? Is a 30-cent deposit really enough to deter someone from stealing a shopping cart? We noticed a similar setup in some American malls, but I had never encountered it before arriving in Europe. Eggs and milk are typically not sold refrigerated. In North America, these items are always kept cold, unlike in Europe, where you may frequently find them stored at room temperature in various aisles of the store. I'm uncertain about the reasons for this difference, but if you don't see eggs or milk in the refrigerated section, there's a good possibility they are available in another part of the store. Store hours can be somewhat unusual in certain regions, particularly in warmer climates. Typically, they open in the morning, shut down for a few hours during the early afternoon, and then reopen in the late afternoon until the evening. This schedule often varies depending on the type of store, with family-owned shops usually adhering to this pattern, while large chain stores do not. I've noticed that early afternoon is an ideal time for grocery shopping in Spain since it's usually quite empty then. People I know I might be criticized for generalizing, but it's necessary to generalize when trying to summarize the approximately 700 million people living in the 51 countries, or 44, as some are eager to emphasize, that comprise Europe. Our reflections and insights regarding Europeans and their main differences when compared to North Americans. One of the initial observations we made when we signed up for a gym in Prague was that individuals entering the locker room would greet each other with "Dobry den," good day. We've seen this behavior throughout much of Europe, where people commonly say hello when arriving or departing from places like gyms, elevators, or medical offices. While this does occasionally occur in North America, it is much more prevalent in Europe. The smiley aspect. Europeans tend to smile less than North Americans, which can be unsettling for first-time travelers to Europe who may incorrectly interpret this as unfriendliness. In my opinion, Europeans have simply been raised in a different social environment where smiling isn't a habitual behavior. However, this does not imply that they are unfriendly. Staring. My mother, originally from Germany, would often stare at people, which embarrassed me as a child. I would say to her, "You shouldn't stare, Mom. It's impolite." She would respond, "I'm just curious." Europeans often tend to stare more than North Americans, and it can be unsettling, especially when they gaze with a serious expression. Lisette, who was born in New York, jokes that in the US, such staring could lead to a serious confrontation. She experiences more staring than I do and has a couple of tactics to deal with it when it gets too much. Either she makes a silly monkey face or simply greets the person with hello. Typically, this surprises them, and their usual reaction is to respond with a sheepish smile and say hello back. Fewer taboos exist regarding the body in Europe compared to North America. It's common to see men wearing Speedos, women sunbathing topless in parks or on the beach, and children playing without clothes. More conventional. This is particularly evident in Southern Europe, where men and women have more clearly defined, traditional roles. Men typically engage in work and often socialize with their male friends afterward. Women continue to handle most domestic responsibilities. This traditional division is also reflected in the workplace. In Southern Europe, it is rare to find male nurses or female police officers, as roles remain largely separate and conventional. Personal space can be quite different in Europe. Often, Europeans don't seem to regard personal space as highly as we do. For example, when you're at a store, you might find someone standing uncomfortably close behind you at the checkout. Similarly, while walking on the sidewalk, you may encounter groups of locals who don't bother to move aside for you, which can be quite frustrating at times. They have a greater understanding of us than we have of them. Generally, Europeans are more knowledgeable and educated about the world compared to North Americans. This can be attributed to their education systems, their presence on a compact continent with numerous shared languages and cultures, and the influence of media and films. Europeans, like others around the globe, are well acquainted with America through movies. It's also likely that many of them have relatives in North America. During our travels in Croatia and the Czech Republic, we've encountered numerous individuals with family in Canada. Dogs are highly socialized. In several European nations, people truly adore their dogs, and in exchange, these dogs are exceptionally well-mannered. We observed this in the Czech Republic, where dogs are permitted on public transport, in restaurants, and at cafes, displaying remarkable behavior. We experienced the same during our year in Croatia. Personal safety concerns are common among visitors to Split, particularly Americans who often feel uneasy when they see images of the city's rougher areas, such as modern sections with graffiti-covered buildings. This apprehension is understandable, as the United States has a reputation for being one of the more dangerous countries, leading Americans to be wary. However, when compared to the US, Europe is quite safe overall. While there may be certain parts of any city where it's not advisable to walk alone at 3 a.m., Europe is generally very secure. Split is among the safest destinations you can visit. Europe is a remarkable continent, and no matter your starting point, you'll come across differences that may seem unusual. Traveling across Europe reveals distinct variations in each country you explore, which is part of what makes the continent so captivating. Thank you for watching this video at Digital Magazine YouTube channel. Please don't forget to like and subscribe this channel for more informative videos. Stay tuned for the next video.